do you think it might be a mistake to assume the American people will automatically blame Republicans? I know that it's intuitive. They hold both chambers of Congress and the presidency if the government shuts down.
How do you blame people that are not in power?
Let's chat about a few things. I'm limited to 10 or 15 minutes, but can we start off with Ukraine? How did you feel about the Oval Office meeting that happened the other day?
So, I mean, look, obviously both sides are blaming each other, but in general, the office meeting was a debacle. And, I do think it's clear when you watch it. I think J.D. Vance was the one who initiated, but at the same time, I think President Zelensky could have done a better job in that meeting. That being said, there's now reports coming out now that President Trump and President Zelensky are going to move forward on the mineral deal. They are going to sign it, and that we're going to hear about it potentially at the State of the Union tonight. Of course, that's how President Trump would want to do this, right? We'll pause aid, we'll cause all this chaos, and then we'll announce it for a big TV moment in the State of the Union. But when you're seeing Marie Le Pen, the far right leader in France, who I disagree with on just about everything, coming out and criticizing us on what we're doing on pausing Ukraine aid. I was very tough on President Biden when he paused aid to Israel. And so I'm going to apply that same standard to President Trump. This idea that we're pausing aid to an ally, in military aid to an ally, we have to be consistent. And so this idea that I'm seeing people who didn't like that Biden did it to Israel, Republicans, are now saying they like it that we're doing with Ukraine. Total hypocrisy.
Do you think that Zelensky should take the mineral deal without security guarantees? Because I feel like all Trump has done is legitimized Putin's strategy of grabbing land, waiting until the West kind of tuckers itself out, and then reigniting the war years later. He's done this with Georgia in 2008. He did it with Crimea in 2014. Do you think Zelensky should take the deal if there's no explicit security guarantees?
Well, look, I would prefer explicit security guarantees. Yeah. In fact, some of the people that are now in Trump's cabinet were for that before they were against it, of course. But here's what I would say. If we look at it holistically, right? So if Europe is willing to give those security guarantees, okay, which it looks like they are, and we are a member of NATO and Article 5 exists, in the event Europe put boots on the ground and, there was an issue, they could invoke Article 5, which would bring us in with security guarantees. I do agree that if we had a presence in Ukraine because we were excavating raw earth, it would make it harder for Putin to attack in the country. So there is some logic to the strategy, but I don't like how we're playing coy. And we're not just giving the security guarantees because we're trying to play footsie with Putin. Look, I'm not sure that this is still going to wind up in some dramatic ceasefire. I hope it will. But we haven't even seen or heard what Putin wants. Yeah. We're waiting. We're doing this deal with Ukraine, and then we're going to go meet with Putin and say, what's the deal? And remember, China's watching because they want to go take Taiwan. Yeah. China's like, oh, well, look, if Putin gets 2/3 of Ukraine, maybe 2/3 of Taiwan sounds good to me. And these are both UN Security Council members. And so this is a very large game of risk. Yeah. That is going on right now. But I am happy that we're going to sign that mineral deal. We need that mineral deal because we've been asleep at the wheel while China has gone into Africa and Latin America and gotten control of a lot of these lithium mines and rare earth mines that were needed for solar technology and for battery technology in the future. I
want to talk about DOGE in 1 second, but Ukraine is something I really care about. So when it comes to Zelensky and Trump, is it a worry of yours? Is this a real concern that while Trump can't pull us out of NATO because he would have to go through Congress,
actually, who did that? Funny, who did that? Marco Rubio is the one who passed that bill.
But the thing is, can't he just say that he won't come to help? And the entire reason Article 5 works is because countries are predictable. The predictability of countries to come help an ally. But if Trump removes that predictability, Article 5...
If you think the stock market is going down today or yesterday, if Article 5 was invoked legitimately and President Trump said he wasn't coming, you couldn't. The stock market crash, the crypto market crash that would come would be epic because at that point in time, trading routes, shipping routes, all of that would be a disaster. And so it's not as simple. I'm sure we'll see, Trump do his messaging, maybe I will, maybe I won't, don't know, right? Some people are saying I shouldn't. But at the end of the day, if Article 5 was invoked, the United States would have to step up. But there is no doubt that Trump is changing transatlantic partnerships. There's no doubt that he's shifting us again closer to Russia. It's the same sort of thing we saw in the first term, right? I don't know why we're shocked. This was all predictable. We saw it in the first term. We all talked about it. It's happening again. You see some very few of my Republican colleagues coming out and pushing back. Most of them are falling in line with President Trump. But, at the end of the day, we should never be aligned with Russia.
Yeah.
This is something that Republicans used to be the fixture on, back to Ronald Reagan. And so the idea that we're going to get cozier with Putin is just gross.
Yeah, one more question regarding Ukraine. When it comes to Lindsey Graham, I don't want you to talk about people that you work with like that. When Lindsey Graham fell in line, I wouldn't say I was shocked, but I always kind of viewed Lindsey Graham as someone who genuinely wants to fight for Ukraine. I still think he does. Wasn't he good friends with Zelensky as well? It felt very odd to me that Lindsey Graham made a tweet saying Zelensky was very disrespectful. Is that just an example of him falling in line? Is there a game there is just politics?
They're all falling in line.
Yeah.
Well, just wait. I know we're going to talk probably about the government funding and CR, but you want to talk falling in line? I'm watching Freedom Caucus members who have never voted for a CR in their life talking about, well, maybe the time for CR, even though they've railed against the status quo, railed against government spending, railed against the debt ceiling. But Trump says, I need you to vote for a CR, and they may do it. So look, they are a party of one. It's not breaking news. We know this. And they're all doing what Trump says. They just added trillions of dollars to the debt.
Yep.
Something that DOGE was supposed to be attacking. Thomas Massey wears his debt clock showing it. He was the only no vote. Everybody else added trillions of dollars to the debt when they voted for Trump's budget a couple weeks ago.
We added trillions, but did you hear that Elon Musk cut $300,000 in, I don't know, some...
Well, it's all a show. It's all a game, right? Look, don't get me wrong. If there is waste in government, we should root it out. Hundreds of thousands and millions and billions of dollars to fine is a lot of money to an American family. But when you're $36 trillion in debt, these numbers don't affect that. They don't even come up to the interest on the debt. So the only way that's going to get solved is in Congress. Republicans used to say they care about it. Meanwhile, they're coming up with plans to add trillions of dollars to the debt and not solving this issue and running up the price of goods, with all the tariffs that we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, so what are your thoughts on the looming government shutdown? I think Mike Johnson has failed to pass it. Run me down what you're thinking.
So look, you can bet on this on Polymarket. I don't, but you can if you want to. Unless the Republicans are willing to forego the things they used to care about, I think government will shut down on March 14th. Look, the American people voted against the status quo, right? Whether I like the results of the election, they want to attack the status quo in Washington. And the polling shows that, right? 75 to 80% of Americans support the idea of DOGE, but only 34% of Americans support the execution of DOGE. So people think government should be more efficient and it should spend less, but they don't like how Elon is doing it, okay? That's clear in the data. But Americans voted against the status quo. The idea that Johnson's coming with a status quo CR after he promised Republicans that he was going to do individual spending bills, okay, and these guys are going to roll over. Look, as a Democrat, I'm not falling into the trap. Okay, this is that scene from Star Wars where the Admiral says, it's a trap. Okay, this is a total trap for us to vote for a clean CR. They say they found all this fraud, waste, and abuse. That's what they say. Okay, we can argue with that. We can argue how much. But that's what they claim. A CR would refund all that fraud, waste, and abuse that Johnson says that DOGE found. It's a total joke, okay, if that's what they're going for. I'm not going to be part of it.
Can I ask you, how have you been feeling about these town halls that Republicans hold, where they're?
I think they're going well.
For the people that are booing them, maybe. But it's like, here's how I view it, and I want you to let me know if my analysis here is correct. Congress has the power of the purse because of Article 1. So when constituents see their representatives cede power to Elon Musk, to the executive branch, he's cutting fraud, waste, and abuse through extra legal means. Doesn't that cede power from the actual constituents?
100%. Yeah. 100%. And look, the Republicans now have this line. It's paid Democratic actors. Right? By the way, we hear that every time there's a mass shooting. Oh, it's paid actors. No, these are their constituents. Okay, and even if they are Democrats, they're still your constituents, right? Like I have Republican constituents just because I'm a Democrat. I got to listen to them. And so, look, these town halls have not been going well. So you know what we do when town halls are not going well? We hide. We hide, run, and duck, and don't come out of your house. Don't meet with people. Don't meet with your constituents. No more town halls. The American people are going to catch them on that. They're not going to get away with that either. I think if you're watching the poll, and the American people know what's going on. They know that what Elon is trying to do and what Trump is trying to do with some of these tariffs also is they're trying to figure out how to pay for these tax cuts for billionaires. And they're doing it on the backs of regular Americans. The cost of eggs. Right, we're in the golden age. Well, I don't know if you know this. The price of eggs are the price of gold now. So welcome to the golden egg perhaps. So, I mean, this is what is going on the street. We're going to see with these tariffs now, the price of goods coming up. The Target CEO said prices are coming up. You're going to see prices go up on coffee and cars and all sorts of stuff. And that cost is going to be passed on to consumers because we're in a trade war now. Canada has put on reciprocal tariffs. Yeah. China has put on reciprocal tariffs. The stock market, has gone down hundreds of points. Seniors' 401k has gone down. These were the things Trump promised he would fix on day one, and he's made them worse. We've given up all of the gains that we made in 2025 in the stock market. And here's my favorite. There's always a tweet for that, right, Donald Trump? There's always a tweet for that. Yeah. In 2012, Donald Trump said, if a stock market goes down 1,000 points in 2 days, a president should be impeached. Now, I don't think Donald Trump should be impeached, but that's what he thought. He thought that he should impeach himself.
He also said, I've never seen a thin person drinking Diet Coke, which was also a good classic. But when it comes to the government shutdown, I want to ask you one more time regarding this. How do you think Democrats should be messaging about all of this? Not only the shutdown, but DOGE and everything. What's the Democrats' message?
We should not be wanting to shut down government. That should not be a goal. That should not be an objective.
How do we show that the onus falls on Republicans, though?
Well, first of all, they have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. How much more of government do they need to have to take responsibility? I mean, give me a date on the calendar where we can stop blaming Joe Biden. Just give me the date. I just want to circle it, remember it, and start counting up to that date. Joe Biden ain't here, although I heard he had dinner in D.C. last night. But Joe Biden ain't here anymore. He's not in charge. They're fully in charge. They want a mandate, by the way. A mandate. We heard all about this mandate, right, which is not a date between two men. It is that they control all of government. So great, good for them. A great accomplishment. So they got to lead. Yeah. Now, Democrats should try to work with them where we can. We should try to figure out where there's common ground. But they're not talking to us. And so since they're not talking to us, they got to do this on their own. They're in charge. I think that's why you see the president and Elon Musk coming to Congress and trying to convince Republicans to vote for the CR because they know they're going to get blamed. Listen, we're willing to work with them. Yeah. But you got to talk, and they're not talking to us. They're not including us in this conversation. And so we should not go out and vote for a government shutdown. We should vote, though, for the fact that we should stop funding government by a CR, and we should start funding it by passing a budget. The reason why there's all this waste is because we're continuing to pass a budget that's 10 years old and 15 years old, so things are not getting corrected. Okay, and if they found all this fraud, waste, and abuse, bring the list to Congress. Show the transparency. Let's do an up or down vote. Back to your constitutional powers, a power of the purse. On DOGE, it's very simple. Democrats should not be defending the status quo. Democrats should not be defending any waste that's found. Democrats should say, we think government should be more efficient, right? By the way, you're going to have to invest in that because the technology in government is terrible. So we think government should be more efficient. We think government should spend less money. I mean, as the American family spends less money, so should government. But there's a right way to do that and a legal way to do that. And what Elon Musk is doing is both probably unlawful and he's taking a hatchet to a problem that needs a scalpel. He's firing veterans, he's firing senior people with all sorts of experience at FEMA and NOAA that are irreplaceable. And so that's why the American people have given his execution of that a 34% rating, which, if you know, is not a good grade.
Why go through the proper and legal channels when you can tweet 200 times a day? Selective numbers, 400,000 found here and here. It's all pretty upsetting. You go on Twitter yourself, right? You scroll through Twitter.
I do.
Do you see Elon Musk's tweets always at the top of your feed?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, look, he's the algorithms are pushing his stuff. Yeah. No doubt about it. Sometimes I laugh. Yeah. But yeah, I love his tweets. Wow. Interesting.
Concerning.
Something to look at. Concerning. Unbelievable. Right? So he's got a whole list of adjectives and verbs he likes to use.
Really deep commentary from Elon Musk there. I do want to ask, do you think it might be a mistake to assume the American people will automatically blame Republicans? I know that it's intuitive. They hold both chambers of Congress and the presidency if the government shuts down.
How do you blame people that are not in power?
I ask, Republicans will find a way. No, Trump.
Well, hold on. They have no choice but to try to do.
Don't we have to message back rather than assuming the American people?
Well, that's why we're messaging right now. Yeah. And that's why I've been messaging for a month. I'm not voting for a clean CR. I'm not going to fall into that trap. I'm not voting for the status quo. Yeah. If you want to do it, go right ahead. Obviously, the House Freedom Caucus that supposedly stood for something, all of the positions they've taken goes out the window as soon as they vote for a CR. We don't have to listen to them on their soapbox anymore if they go vote for a clean CR. But no, Democrats got to get ahead of it. There's no doubt. But at the end of the day, they're in charge of government. We want to work with them. At the moment, they don't want to work with us, so they're on their own. They're going to have to keep it open on their own. Now, if the Speaker starts putting the individual spending bills, and we're starting to fund government the right way, something he promised his caucus, something Republicans have wanted to do that he's abandoning now, then we could start making votes, up or down votes, on each of the departments.
I really like your messaging about the mandate, flipping back their wording about the mandate on them. Like, they've talked about that relentlessly. We had a mandate from the American people, so as they continue to screw up, you say, hey, this is your mandate, the onus all falls on you. I think that's a really strong message.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what they say.
Yeah.
They say they have a mandate, which is, look, we've always known they only have a 3-vote majority in the House. Let's see if they can get it done.
Yeah. And Trump tweeted, I think it was February 15th, somewhere around there, 3 words, all caps, Biden, inflation, up. It's just the simplest messaging ever. I'm sure it works for some people, but this dude has been the president.
Come on, how much did we hear about eggs before the election? Oh, eggs. Meanwhile, eggs are at the highest. Now all of a sudden it's bird flu.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now all of a sudden it's bird flu. These were the guys that, believed that, bird flu was something that was made up to affect the election. And so, at the end of the day, they never want to take responsibility for anything. They always want to point blame. The American people are smarter than that. They're figuring it out.
Yeah.
That these day one promises aren't coming to fruition, and that Trump is not even focused on the economy, right? He's focused on Greenland and Gaza, and Canada, the 51st state, and he's not focused on the economy, something that people thought he would do when they didn't vote for a continuation of the 4 years of Joe Biden. They wanted someone to focus on that, and again, if you look at the polling, it shows that the American people think he's too focused on these other things and not focused on the economy.
Yeah, and his economic policy is entirely incoherent. Even when he's talking about it, he's talking about tariffs. There's a way you can use them where you reshore manufacturing by giving a grace period, right?
Yeah.
But you can't just slap tariffs on. What I always say is, the phrase, when you only have a hammer, everything is a nail. Trump thinks that tariffs are our only tool that we have, and he's like swinging this hammer around, hitting all of our allies, which is wild.
Well, look, I'm for some onshoring back, bringing jobs back.
Which is rational, yeah.
Bringing jobs back to America. COVID proved that. I was, the emergency management director during COVID in Florida, and so I did all these logistics. I had to buy products all over the country because we don't make things here anymore. And by the way, we didn't fix that. Trump didn't fix that. Biden didn't fix that. The supply chain. So I am for onshoring some of this stuff back to America. We need to do that. But tariffing our way to do that is not going to be the solution, because it is going to create a trade war. It is going to pass those costs off the consumer. This idea that the consumer pricing is not going to go up is just not true. It is going to go up. And again, you don't have to believe me. They're going to see it. Believe your own eyes. What was that movie? Don't Look Up. Just look at the prices.
Yep.
When you go and you pay, look at the prices. You're going to see the result of his policies. And when he says, there's going to be some short-term pain, how long? A week? 6 months? A year?
He'll be insulated from it. Elon Musk will be insulated from any short-term pain. So I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, Representative Moskowitz. I really do appreciate the time a lot.
Good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you.
You got it
as well.
What's up, Midas?
Say hi to the Midas Mighty. Say hi to your brother Ben. I know you better.
Beating Joe Rogan. Beating Joe Rogan.
#1 on the charts.
#1.